Testing. All right. Um, it's my first time sharing. I've been on TradingView for a while, but I want to share a few things with you guys, particularly smart money concept traders. All right. So everyone is surprised by this move in the euro, and for me, what I've seen, because everyone's saying, daily break of structure. Let me just hide a few of these. If you look here at the weekly time frame, what you can very clearly see is this right here is what 2025 in September. It made that high in 2025, and then this right here is a liquidity sweep on the weekly time frame. Now, prior to this, we haven't had any weekly time frame breaks of structure. So what you'll see a liquidity sweep, and then we have this break of structure on the weekly. Everyone's looking at the daily break of structure, and the real move is on the weekly. If you was to put a fib from the high to the low, you would have it in alignment with this fair value gap right in here. If I could unhide that for a second. There we go, that fair value gap right in there. Now, um, I'll give you my reasons why I want to have my entry somewhere around here. Um, because we're not really finished with this as yet, like in a premium range, and I have to refer to the DXY to show you that. Um, but my strategy is based on. Let me cut this off right quick. My strategy is really based on break of structure, SMT divergence, retracements. This is really the area you want to get in right here. Um, Now, targets for the euro after it breaks down from this low here is you want to go to, I believe I had a 6 month chart. There we go. A 6 month fair value gap in alignment with my 14 SMA. And you can see it has yet to even come down here to take that out. So this is like where I would be targeting from, you know, my entry off of the weekly fair value gap. So here we go. Weekly fair value gap, still waiting for it to go up a little more so I could get a little more buzz, a lot more entries. What trapped a lot of people is the fact that, you know, if you put your fib from the high to the low, are we really in a premium? We're still in discount. We just broke, I believe it was, yeah, this major low right here. Anything up in here, you can't really sell from. So you have to wait for it to come up. And then, we disrespected this daily fair value gap, which completely invalidates it. We trickle down very slowly, and then we move up, and then, we made the break higher. So here we go. If I was to remove all of that, I don't want it to look too sloppy. We realize that we can't use anything off of the daily time frame to buy into the weekly fair value gap. I have it marked up in red so that you could know it's for sell and green for buys. So here we are, all right, 4 hour time frame. So now we have to refer to the lower time frames because the daily isn't giving us any entry models or what's not. So here we had that low that it made before it went back up higher. It came back down, made higher highs, right? And then it respected this 4 hour fair value gap right here. But I'm watching to see how it trickles down. Now, this move, obviously, I wouldn't have gotten in this move. But this is a setup. If I cut out my GBP USD time, the SMT divergence, what you do know about SMT divergence is that the Euro US dollar and the my bad and the Great Britain the pound, they move similarly. So right here where US where the Euro USD made a low and then a higher low, it mitigated that. And then that means GBP USD made a low and then a lower low, and euro failed to make that low. So what we have here is a crack in the correlation. But notice I don't look for it just anywhere. I'm looking for it specifically within the fair value gap of my interest. So what has to happen now is that we have to break structure no matter how long it might be. We have to break structure and then come back into a fair value gap to then take the long. So here we broke structure here, we broke structure here, and these what you would consider your order blocks, right? Your bearish order blocks. We broke structure here and we broke structure here. We didn't have to break structure up here because as you can see, we broke structure multiple times. One, two, three, four. Structure broken, broke, break, and close above, and then we had the strong move down. Now you couldn't have entered that move right there to the downside because it wasn't in any kill zone or any sessions. Probably would have been sleeping, but it's still in alignment with my 14 SMA. It went up into the 1 hour bearish fair value gap. Um, or a SIBI, if you may. We broke structure here, and we broke, yeah. So, like, mainly here, and I can say we broke structure here. And then we had that, that slow movement. Anytime you see the market moving slow like this inside of an area of interest or a fair value gap, that means most of the time it's more likely to head down lower. So now we had this move up in here. We moved down into the fair value gap. Let's go back to the 4 hour time frame. You had this move into the fair value gap, right? And now we had the break of structure, a little clear break of structure right here, right? Break and close. You can't really say this was a break and close because it just wicked it. I'm looking for the body is to like break and close. So in this area, that's my break of structure right there. It came down and move into this other 4 hour fair value gap right here in alignment with my 14 SMA. You could have a position here. I was late to the party because I was just waiting for the session. And but we had another entry inside New York on the 1 hour time frame that's also in alignment with the 14 SMA. Now I don't use the 14 SMA as confirmation. I use the 14 SMA to help with my bias. So we had that move here. We went up into London. We came down. We retested right before the New York Open, and then we trickled up higher, and then the news came out with Trump at around 8 o'clock, and then what happened from there. Now, what I'm looking for is for a price to respect this 2 hour fair value gap. Why did we choose the 2 hour fair value gap? Well, if we go to the 4 hour fair value gap, there is a 4 hour fair value gap, but it's more likely to come down and fill in this gap here. But my SMA is in alignment with that. So we go to the 3 hour. I'm looking at my SMAs. It's like no kind of fair value gap. It's just little fair value gap in here. But I know it's like just the rules. But it's more in alignment with my 2 hour fair value gap, which I could have my entry right here, my stop loss here, and then my targets to the low. So I have a limit order set in here on the 2 hour fair value gap. We're gonna get it to a 1 to 3 risk to reward. And when we get down here, I'm expecting price to respect on the daily fair value gap now, because now that we had this daily break of structure, Notice where my SMA is moving in alignment with this daily fair value gap. And if you take it from the low to the high where it actually broke this structure, you can get your discount array and then a move back up into the weekly time frame. Up in here is where I have another limit order for um Euro USD, and then we can get a breakdown lower into that um 6 month 6 month bullish fair value gap to then potentially take the euro up higher. Um, and my analysis on this was, based on the DXY from last year. If I was to take off this indicator, um, go to the yearly time frame. So I was eyeing this up from about 2024. And what we had here, we had this SIBI, this yearly fair value gap here. We respected it back in 2022, 2023, 2024, um, around Christmas. We disrespected it end of the year. So anytime I see a close above a SIBI, a fair value gap that's supposed to take us down lower, that's an indication that this is null and void, and we're probably not going to head down all the way lower. So then we opened up the new year. We traded above, we went touched that 6 month fair value gap, and then we headed down all the way lower into what? The yearly fair value gap in alignment with my 14 SMA. So we're acting off, and this is why I knew that the US dollar was going to go up this year from before the year even started. What we are acting to is this that's going to send us above here, above the 2022 yearly high. And it's going to take some time, but we trade in, we trade in fractals. So now, if we go to the daily time frame, no, rather the weekly time frame, my apologies. If we go to the weekly time frames, we're already in the yearly. Look how we displayed out. Took out the weekly structure, came up, broke the structure in alignment with our fair value gap. And this is the reason why I say the euro has a lot more to go down, because we haven't tapped into this weekly fair value gap. Yeah, we may have touched the SMA, but we have yet to like test inside of this fair value gap to then send us higher. So this is all what I'm looking at. We had a structure break here, break and close above, not wick, because wicks are just to me liquidity grabs like this. I need to see a break and close and then retrace. And if you put a fib on this, you would get your discount pricing as well. So that's what we have for uh, Euro USD and the DXY. I'm not gonna share my other charts. I mean, probably I'll go to uh, the indices. So for the indices, if I go to my, well, I'll stay on the weekly. So I had this marked up from the beginning of the year, I believe. It's a 3 month fair value gap. I saw the same action last year where it did it um, sometime around here, but not with the 3 month. It was a 6 month, I believe. So we traded into the 3 month fair value gap on Nasdaq. We traded to the midpoint of that 3 month fair value gap on the S&P 500, and we traded to the top of the 3 month fair value gap with the US 30. And right around this time is when the COT report came out, and the institutions were going long. So to find a smaller time frame entry off of this, it probably was going to be tricky, but like for long term traders, you could definitely, I would have definitely take a position from here, because I'm looking at the speed at which it comes down, and the Nasdaq had already reached like in close proximity to the low of that fair value gap. So I would have definitely taken a position either from the top or the midpoint of this 3 month fair value gap, and then try to target the high stop loss right on the bottom here, and then we could have targeted the highs. However, I don't trade the indices, and then I don't know how the swing trading works for it. So yeah, so it would have looked something like this, you know, in all honesty. And I would have done the same with NAS. I just would have had my I would have used NAS to help me with the SMP, because if NAS had touched the bottom, then I could have definitely entered at this midpoint and then target with full surety. And this is how my strategy works, guys. Once I find correlated pairs, highly correlated pairs, right? And then we could target the highs or even higher. So yeah, so that's my take. You guys tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel. It's predominantly only for smart money traders. So peace. I'm out.